Places to give birth in the North Country are few and far between. Expecting parents can sometimes drive hours to reach a hospital. And some parents want to avoid hospitals altogether. Instead, they may choose to have their babies at home. We meet one of the North Country's few home birthing midwives on today's Story of the Day.
Support for Story of the Day comes from Clarkson University, offering over 95 programs of study with campuses in the Hudson Valley, Central, and Northern New York. More at clarkson.edu.
Hey, I'm David Sommerstein. It's Friday, January 26th. First up, the mild winter we've been having is causing very dangerous conditions on lake and river ice around the North Country. Stephen Trenton with the U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary is warning people to stay off the ice. And if you do go, know the ice thickness. He says stay off until it's at least 2 inches thick.
4 inches is good for going out for ice fishing, and a snowmobile or ATV, it's recommended for 5 inches. For a small car or pickup, 8 to 12 inches, and for a medium-sized truck, 12 to 15 inches.
Trenton says people should check local weather and ice conditions before heading out on their trips. This week, an ice shanty went through the ice on the St. Lawrence River, and last week, a central New York man died when his truck went through the ice. The home birth rate in St. Lawrence County was 9.9% in 2022. That's almost 10 times the state average. So giving birth out of the local hospitals is popular here. And just one midwife handles most of those home births. Lucy Grindon has our story.
This mother in Potsdam, Jen, has given birth to 7 children. She still feels scared with each one. But since she moved to the North Country, she's been delivering with a local midwife, Sunday Smith. I call Jen when she's about to give birth to her 7th child. She asks me not to use her last name to maintain her family's privacy, but she says I can attend the birth. Less than 24 hours later, Sunday Smith texts me. Her message says, "Saddle up and ride." When I get to Jen's house 20 minutes later, the baby is already here. Smith kneels on the living room floor. She's pressed into the side of an inflatable birthing tub, her arms submerged in the warm water. She's showing the baby's older sister how to cut the umbilical cord.
You're going to cut in between these 2 clamps, and I'll keep her arms and all of her bits out of the way. And it's really chewy. It's nicely done.
Thank you. Sunday Smith is one of the only certified midwives in the North Country who practices home birth. She used to spend days and nights crisscrossing the region in her car to meet every client at home. She still does home births, but in 2021, she opened her own birth center in Potsdam. It's one of the only freestanding birth centers in northern New York. She's very busy.
Might have to go catch another baby, and she's Mennonite, and she would not appreciate someone else being there.
She weighs Jen's baby before she goes.
Yeah, last call on the weight.
613.
8-6.
And she rushes off to the birth center to catch the 500th baby she will have delivered in the North Country. People turn to Sunday Smith and to home birth midwives in general because they don't want to give birth in a hospital. Some people are determined to give birth at home because of fear, expense, or cultural tradition. Without home birth midwives, those people would give birth alone, with no one to read potential danger signs. Regina Willette is a retired North Country midwife. She did home births here for decades.
We need more midwives, especially midwives who are trained in community birth and cognizant of the Amish culture.
Willette says the North Country's large Amish and Mennonite populations increase its home births. Both times I visited Sunday Smith's birth center, I saw families from those communities in the waiting room. Smith wants her services to be accessible. She gives a discount of more than 50% to Amish and Mennonite families. If they still can't pay her fee, she says they find a way to work something out. One client paid by building a brand new wooden deck for the birth center. And Smith takes clients with Medicaid. The reimbursements she gets aren't as large as the ones from private insurance companies, but she says she wouldn't feel right turning anyone away.
That doesn't feel like service to me. That doesn't feel like access to me. That feels like I'm saying that this is a service for the wealthy. But what I believe is that it's a service for the healthy.
Demand for Smith's services is high. So high that she sometimes worries she can't keep up. Last October, in 1 month, she delivered 16 babies. She wasn't getting enough sleep.
At some point, I have to look at, okay, how many is so many that you aren't rested enough that you're not safe anymore? Not just is the person coming into my building, is she safe because she's low risk? Is she safe because I'm on my game?
One reason there's so much demand is that some women believe that avoiding the hospital will make them less likely to have a C-section. That's the surgical procedure where a doctor cuts a mother open to deliver a baby. North Country hospitals do have higher than average C-section rates. For example, the rate at Claxton Hepburn Medical Center in Ogdensburg is 47%. That's 13% higher than the state average. The rate's only slightly above the state average at Canton-Potsdam Hospital at 38%.
C-sections are always worse than vaginal deliveries as a general thing, so it's something to be avoided, and it's something to be utilized when appropriate.
Dr. Mazen Abdullah became the head of Canton-Potsdam Hospital's OBGYN department in 2018. Since then, he says the hospital has taken measures to reduce C-sections. But he says the C-section rate has a lot to do with location. CPH has become the main OBGYN unit for all of St. Lawrence County, the largest county in the state. And it's been serving more patients from farther away, outside St. Lawrence County, especially since the Alice Hyde Maternity Center in Malone closed in 2022. Some CPH patients have to drive hours through the snow to reach the hospital. That means they arrive in a later and sometimes riskier stage of labor. And the nearest high-level neonatal intensive care unit is in Syracuse, hours away by ambulance. So if Abdullah thinks a delivery might be going south, he's going to operate sooner rather than later, because he knows a baby in poor condition won't make it to the NICU fast enough.
Because the alternative is a disaster. A dead baby, baby who's damaged permanently, or a mom that's damaged permanently, or mom's death, versus my C-section rate is worse.
Doctors' rates of doing C-sections are usually higher than midwives' rates of sending people to get C-sections. But Abdullah says that's mainly because midwives see healthier patients on average. But even the healthiest people can run into life-threatening complications. Earlier this month, one of Dr. Abdullah's patients had a placental abruption.
She lost a liter of blood, and we did everything perfect. Now imagine if that's at somebody's home.
A matter of minutes can be the difference between life and death, and Abdullah says it's always safer to have a doctor on hand. Canton-Potsdam Hospital is just down the street from Sunday Smith's birthing center, and she does send clients there pretty often.
I transfer about 12% of my people over to the hospital, and we don't call it a failed home birth. We call it smart utilization of local resources.
Smith wants to keep expanding her practice, but she can't do it alone. She's waiting for more midwives to finish training and hoping they come to the North Country. In the meantime, she'll keep serving as many clients as she can herself. She says women come to her because she makes them feel safe.
If what feels safe to you is all that technology and the bright lights and the multidisciplinary team, and if that's what feels safe to you, that's what you should do. But if what feels safe to you is soft lights, your besties taking turns, rubbing your back, soft sounds, being able to move as your body guides you, if that's what feels safe to you, then that's what you choose. It's not that one of these facilities is doing it right and the other is doing it wrong. We're just serving the populations in the way that they want to be served.
Smith personally feels that this is the work she was born to do. Lucy Grindon, North Country Public Radio.
We have more news all the time on our website, ncpr.org. Music today by Patricia Julian of Burlington and Oscar Sarmiento of Potsdam. Have a great weekend. I'm David Sommerstein, North Country Public Radio.